Well, welcome everyone to the Wealthy Speaker Podcast. I'm here with Azadeh. Uh, Azadeh, I want to make sure that I get the pronunciation of your name, Azadeh, correctly. And I'm not even going to say your last name because you are a one name brand now yourself. Did I say it correctly? Welcome to the show.
Yeah, you did, Jane. Thank you for having me.
Well, tell everybody about what you do and your business model. And by the way, it's working as a one name brand for me because I started hearing about you and I would only ever hear your first name, and so people definitely have come to know you. It's working just like Beyonce.
That's awesome. Well, it's a pleasure to be here with you and have your listeners tune in. So yeah, I run a branding agency. I've been doing it for almost 15 years. We're recording this on October 3rd, and on the 8th will be my 15 years in business.
Ooh,
Thank you.
congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, so I've seen a lot of up and down turns in the economy in the last 15 years. And I think we just are almost coming out of another one just now. And then it's got its own particulars. So, anyhow, in my business, I focus on branding. So, I run a branding agency and we work with speakers, we work with healthcare professionals, we work with consultants. We actually don't have a particular niche demographic that we work with as long as the business owner or the business, so it's either solopreneurs running their business or their groups, they're a corporate business and they have teams behind them. As long as they have a problem that they cannot solve when it comes to their brand and their marketing. So usually the pain point is, we have a great service or product that we're selling, except we're not getting it out there, or the messaging is not clear, or our website is so old it doesn't speak the language anymore. So please help.
Okay, love that. And we have a few clients in common, so I'm super excited to see kind of what comes out at the other end of your work.
Yeah.
So we're talking branding today. What do you think are kind of like, let's just define it and lay out what you think the three most important aspects of branding to consider would be for somebody trying to map it out.
Yeah, so I'd say the first one is, what is a brand? Because I think there's still some confusion as to what is really branding and how do you use it to your advantage once you really know what that is.
Okay.
The second is determining your lane, which I love the fact that you do that with people. So, what is that area of expertise that you're honing in on? And then, what's your one idea? And I'll explain the one idea in just a minute.
Okay.
And the third is, and this is specifically for speakers and not necessarily speakers who keynote, but if you're out there facilitating, running workshops, and you're out there, you're the brand. How is your in-person brand? Where's the bridge? Where you close the bridge between your in-person brand, how you show up and people experience you, and then your online brand? I've often seen a huge gap in between how those two things are expressed. So I'd love to talk more about that.
Okay, well, I'm excited about this. So let's just talk like, what is the definition? I'm sure I have one, you have one, and probably 10 more people would have 10 different of branding. I always think of Kleenex, you know. This is not actually, this is a Kleenex box. I'm just holding up here for those of you watching on YouTube. Um, but Kleenex kind of locked down the branding for facial tissues, and that became. I think there's a name for that in marketing, but I can't remember exactly what it is. If you can make your brand be the name of the product itself for everybody, that's pretty cool. Like, that's a not every brand would have a Kleenex type situation, would they?
That's exactly right, Jane. And that's where people want to kind of focus in on, is that how do you get to be known for that thing that you really stand for and the expertise that you're known for, so that people do refer to you as the expert about that issue?
Yeah.
And so, yes, branding has lots of definitions. Where usually people make the mistake is they find that, or they think that their brand is their logo, their website, their business card, all of their marketing collateral, but actually that's not their brand. And I think a lot of people know this, except they still think that that's the brand, because what I usually hear from for speakers or consultants is they first come to me and say, I need a new website. And that's great because they know their website is a good sales representative for them.
Right.
And I always start with a branding question first. Who are you? What do you stand for? What's the value that you represent? What is the main problem that you're solving? So that $1 million that you solve, what is that? And I still find that even seasoned speakers have problem answering these questions. So I always tell speakers, forget about the website at first, hone in on your brand.
Yes.
So the definition of branding that I give
Okay.
is more practical. And I like things when they're practical because we know what we can do with them. So the
Okay.
way that I define branding is that branding is the image in your head and the feeling in your heart. It's those two things, the image in your head and the feeling in your heart.
Okay.
And why is that? Is because anytime you know a brand, it's because you've got very specific images about that brand and emotions in regard to that brand, whether you like the brand or not. So if I were to say Nike to you, and I use Nike because they're probably one of the best marketers in the world.
Yeah.
And so when I say Nike to you, do you have direct images and emotions that come to you?
I have
Again, whether you like the brand or not.
the Just Do It swoosh. Okay. So, I mean, talk about a slogan that stuck, right?
Yes,
I
totally.
know that they need to ever have a different one. But yeah, I mean, it's about empowerment and it's about kicking butt and taking names. And isn't that amazing that they've been able to build all that into a swoosh?
That's right. And that's exactly it, right? The athletes at the top of their game, getting you to push to your throughout your limits and conquering the impossible. That's what Nike stands for. So that is the story they tell. And so if speakers and consultants can become the Nike of their own industry, what would that be? That is the question. And that is the exercise to dive into when anyone is looking to find their brand.
Yeah. So, yes, it is the colors on your website and the look and the logo but it all is going towards this one outcome, which is
That's right.
what's the image in their head, what's the feeling in the heart. Do I have that right?
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, okay. So let's talk about when it comes to this number one, understanding what branding is and how to use it to your advantage. What would be some ways that you're seeing that doesn't necessarily work?
Well, when it doesn't work is that when things are misaligned and they're not consistent. So A is when there's no awareness as to what the brand is focusing on,
Mm,
then what are you then focusing on? If there is no focus, there's a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and your audience is confused.
yeah.
And plus, if so, dodging shiny things that come around is a particularly challenging thing to do as entrepreneurs because we all love things that are new, things that we might want to do, and a lot of times the market also shifts to say, oh, now people are doing more of this, so now maybe I should also be doing more of that. But your brand is timeless. It's not about the latest trend. That's the thing that I think a lot of entrepreneurs have a challenge with, just sticking to their brand voice and what they really stand for, because that actually never changes.
Yeah, I get that. And I think, number two in your three-parter is about picking a lane. And without having done that, you don't really know what you stand for because you're trying to probably serve too many masters. How often do people come to you and they say, well, I've got three different markets and three different messages, and you're trying to say, okay, well, how do we say that on a website? It's incredibly difficult to write the copy for a website when you're trying to serve more than one master, is it not?
Definitely, definitely. And here's the part that I love that you do with the speakers that you help is you really help them hone in on the one expertise that they want to be the master of and known for. And that's a hard thing to do because you know this, Jane, the speakers that you've worked with and the trainers and facilitators, they're so well researched and experts in so many things, and a lot of times it's challenging to just pick the one thing because some things override each other, and then all of a sudden you've got, I'm a resiliency expert, and I'm a change expert, and I'm a leadership expert, and then it's like, no, but which one are you, because we're looking for this. And so I think that's the challenging part, to really just focus in on that one expertise. And again, I want to give an example. There was a interview done with Warren Buffett and Bill Gates,
Mm-hmm.
where the interviewer asked them, what is the principle, what is the principle of your success? The two most richest, successful men on earth, this person asked them, what is your secret to your success? And
Okay.
they both answered by saying the same thing at the same time. What do you think they said?
Picking a lane. I don't know.
They said focus. They
Okay.
said that the principal success to their success has been the fact that they focused. So these are the two most richest men on earth saying, don't get distracted. Pick something and stick with it. So that's where the lane and the expertise comes in. Now, the idea of the one idea,
Okay.
it takes the lane down into like a deeper level. So let's say you've picked leadership as your expertise and your lane. Now there are 50,000 other speakers who speak about leadership. How is it that you're going to stand out? What is it that's different about you and the take that you have on leadership? That's the concept of the one idea. And so when speakers understand what their one idea is, now all of a sudden they're a step deeper.
I love
So
that.
now if I could give an example,
That's great.
so the concept of the one idea is that people don't buy your products and services. I know usually when I say that, you think, well, sure they are. They're buying my books, they're buying my shampoos or whatever other things that I have.
Yeah.
That's actually not what they're buying. They're buying into an idea and a brand promise. So in order to get, and for those who are listening, in order for you to get to your one idea, the first place that you start asking the question is, what do I add that's a value to my audience? So then you come up with the first thing that comes to your head. You write that down. So let's say the first thing that comes to your head is change.
Mm-hmm.
So then you ask yourself, if these people were to access change, what does that give them?
Mm-hmm.
New ideas. Then you ask the question again, if they have access to new ideas, what does that then provide them? Then you come up with another word, and you keep asking that question to keep going, like layer of the onions, you keep peeling them off until you get to that place where you go, whatever that word is. Because if they have access to that, then they have access to anything. Anything is possible from that place. And so when you get to that, that is the heart and core of your brand. And it's very exciting.
So you can teach resilience, but what's at the other end of being a more resilient person? Is it that maybe you're higher performing? Is it maybe that you have better work-life balance? I don't know. So what is it that when you think about that, I love the what does that give them? What does that give them? What does that give them questions, because I think it really helps lead you. And also if you're mixing in there, okay, so what does that really matter to them? Like, let's make sure that they're getting something that they really are interested in and will really lean in towards.
That's
And
right.
how do you suggest that your clients test a new brand idea?
What do you mean exactly?
So we'll often get to a promise statement. I think you call it a brand promise. And we'll say, hey, run it up the flagpole with half a dozen of your clients and
Mm,
just see if they would like lean into this one or something like that. Maybe do a little bit of A B testing just to see whether or not people are resonating, because I know what I think works, but I really want to hear what their clients think works.
yeah, so that's a great question. And usually what I do is suggest that they run it by not friends, maybe colleagues, because, okay, so not friends, why friends? Because your friends may not understand the demographic that you present in front of. And if
Yeah.
you want to do it with friends and family, that's fine, but you got to give them the context. You
Yeah.
got to take a few minutes and tell them about your brand, how you position yourself, and give them the business model before they jump into giving you more of a subjective answer to say, "Oh, I like this." So
Mhm.
usually friends and family don't really work for that, but who's really great are the people who hire you.
Yeah.
So past clients, if you have been able to keep in touch with some of your audience members because they might follow you on social media, that's usually also a really great platform to gain some ideas. But the most important thing is if anyone at any time is looking at at a brand refresh,
Mhm.
is explain why you're doing a refresh,
Right.
because some people may see you in a certain way. You've created an impression for them, but then you know where the miscommunication or the misalignments are, yet people don't know that. So if you express that and then say, okay, so here's some three options that I'm working on, then you get some really good feedback.
And you have to recognize too that you might be opening a giant can of worms.
That too, yes.
Because
Yes.
sometimes, especially when asking other speakers, so I have found personally that, there's a handful of speakers that I think, okay, they really understand branding and they would really give me some great input. So I would go straight to them. But a lot of people, I'm helping them with their marketing. So I don't know that they are the ones to help you necessarily.
Right.
So be aware of that, I think. So, okay, we've talked about your one idea and knowing your lane. Talk about this idea of bridging the gap between the impression you create in person versus online.
Yeah, so this has become one of my favorite things to talk about. And
Okay.
by the way, if any of your listeners are coming to the CAPS convention, I'm talking about this. I'm presenting actually on this topic at the convention. So I invite you to come see it.
Aw.
So the challenge that I've noticed with a lot of speakers and keynoters and workshoppers is they often say, when I'm in person and people see me online, it's a whole different experience than when they go and see my website or they see my social media posts.
Hmm.
And one of the best examples that I have, and I actually love sharing this anytime I'm on stage, is I had this experience with Michelle Cederberg.
Okay.
So Michelle Cederberg is the current president of CAPS, the Canadian Association of Professional Speakers. And so her and I were at the same conference in 2018, I believe it was. She was the opening keynoter, and I was one of the breakout sessions.
Okay.
So I saw her open this conference and I was blown away by this woman. I just went, oh my God, I want to be like her when I grow up. Like,
Yeah,
she had the
incredible
whole thing down, energy.
Yeah.
She had cool slides. She didn't need to look at the slides. She knew what was coming. It was just like boom, boom. Like, she was incredible. And then I was like, I had my computer in front of me. So I went onto my computer. I wanted to check her out and I landed on her website and I just went, oh, the person that I saw on stage was a complete different person than the person that I saw online.
Interest.
So what were like, her colors were totally off. Michelle is a passionate person and her colors on her website were green. And I thought, she's not a green brand. And I
Yeah.
wonder if she knows that. So
Yeah.
I'm analyzing because I know all the psychology behind colors, and I wondered why that was chosen for her. So
Okay.
lucky for me, she ended up attending my breakout session, and afterwards she came to talk to me. And so then she opened up by saying, Azadeh, I hate my website. And I thought, oh, thank God, I didn't have to say it. That not that I hate it, but that it just doesn't reflect you. It's not you. So I wonder how many deals you're missing out on, because if someone's checking you out and they've never seen you on stage, and at that time her videos weren't up to date either, they're not experiencing you at 150%.
Right.
So yeah. So
Awesome.
that we ended up working together, and her website is one that you can all check out. And I would love to hear from you to say that her new website, if you see it, does that say Michelle Cederberg because you've seen her on stage, and now there's a closer gap between her online presence and her in person.
That's Michelle with two L's, I believe. Cederberg.
BERG,
Berg.
Berg.com.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Yeah.
So, yes.com. So you talked a little bit about colors. Can you talk about kind of what some of the colors mean, or if you're trying to convey this, like what are some ideas around colors? We've used a lot of red because bold and badass was kind of the goal that we had. So it was red. I don't know if that's right or not. You tell me. Is that bad choice? Is that a good choice?
So this is a great question. In order to choose your colors, you have to first determine what are the top three emotions that you want your audience to feel when they come in contact with your brand. So,
Hmm.
what are the three top most important, like at a priority, intentional emotions?
Hmm. Top three emotions. I would say we want people to be inspired because we want to present a lifestyle to them at the Wealthy Speaker School and through private coaching that, ooh, I could have that too. So inspired. Um, we also want them to feel a sense of warmth
Mhm.
coming from me, that I'm approachable, that I'm not, too rich to talk to them.
Good. Okay, that's really good. Yeah. Okay. What
Approachable.
else?
So inspired, approachable.
Warm, you said. So warm and approachable are kind of together.
Yeah,
And
they
then
go
what's a third one?
together. That we know our stuff, that we're
Mm.
credible, I
So
guess.
trust.
Trust, yes, good word, yes. Yeah.
Okay, so when you talk about inspired, is it like an excited inspiration? And again, I want you to think about the first impression, right? Not after they've worked with you and now that's what they
No,
feel. That
like,
very
yeah, let's
first,
do this.
yeah,
Let's
let's do this.
like maybe it even is inspired slash urgency.
Oh, great. Perfect. So then you're definitely based on that, what you just said, and then the fact that you want to create the warm, fuzzy, and approachable feelings, you're
Yeah.
definitely in the warm tones. So you're somewhere between either orange or red. So red definitely creates more urgency. So if that's what you're going for, then reds are perfect. You can also say, I don't want it to be too red, but and if you work with maybe more women, then you kind of go to more of a coral, which is more of a pinky red.
Gotcha. I
Or you go, okay, I want a little bit like orangey red, or like it's a fiery orange. So it's a little bit less intense than a red. So you kind of play around with that and see how that feels. But both orange and red would be great colors for you.
Our
And then what?
secondary color is always teal, and I'm like
Okay.
so excited. My next book is going to have a teal cover, like different than I've ever done before. And but it's like the robin's egg blue that you might get on a Tiffany box.
Yes. Okay. Perfect.
Match the
So, because you said your third emotion that you want to create is trust,
yeah.
that's actually a really great color for you because the color of trust is blue. And
Oh,
it's usually, so it depends in what kind of intensity of trust you want to go. You want to go like bold and credible and like grounded in so much knowledge, or like blue, like peace of
serene
mind
blue.
time of like just kind of air, and I can breathe and it's easy on me. It's not like, intense.
We would never do
So,
like the IBM blue because
right.
that's just not the kind of trust we're looking for. It would definitely be a lighter, feeling. And I don't know if you can see, but my office, I'm surrounded by blue.
Yeah, I see a little bit of it, yeah, and a bit of orange. Yeah.
My coach sign there.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is, I choose clothes in that color. I just love it. It makes me feel good. It's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. So then your teal is a mixture of green and blue. So what's really interesting about that is that you mentioned how you care about people's lifestyle, creating a lifestyle around speaking. And
Yeah.
so that again is a perfect match for you. So I think you've got the right colors.
Oh, cool. Well, I am thinking about a new website here at some point in the future. So that's really good for people who are thinking about what do my colors say about me? That's their place to start. What are the top three emotions that you want people, and I think trust for a lot of people would
Yeah,
definitely.
the credibility piece is, yeah, one that gets repeated, obviously, as an expert.
Any shade of blue, trust.
Yeah, again, it all, so you got to understand branding is a very energetic thing. It's all about emotions.
Mhm.
So colors also have emotions behind them. So anytime in any color you go super intense, the meaning of that emotion is like either, intensified by the color and the shade, or it's a little bit lighter. If you go towards the pastels, then it's like really, really light. And so there's all these meanings in between.
So like one end of a color might be passive and the other end might be urgency,
Yes,
right? I see
exactly.
what you're saying. Okay, that's
And then for speakers to remember that it's not about you. It's not about your favorite color or what you like. It's always about your audience and what you want them to feel.
yeah, that's really important. All right, so let's just talk about a few maybe website brand, maybe do's and don't do, something that you might see people doing that you think, okay, I like, we've already got number one, which is let's make sure that you're aligned between who you are, really like how you show up on stage and what your website is saying. I think that that's something that I hadn't really given a lot of thought to before. And now you're just creating a lot more awareness around that. Anything else on that before we talk just kind of general mistakes?
Um, so let's see. Gosh, there's so much to talk about when it comes to websites. So one main thing that I see missing is that usually speakers don't have their positioning statement above the fold.
Right.
So when you land on their website, or, if I were to be an audience member and I land on your website,
Yeah.
you have somewhere between 3 to 7 seconds to create an emotional connection with me, which
Yes.
means I want to stay and I want to read more. So the first thing that I look for is who are you and what do you do and why would I want to learn more? So that
Yes.
positioning statement is exactly that. Who do you work with? What do you do for them? And then what is the result or an outcome that I can count on for
Yes.
you to deliver to me, right?
So above the fold on the
Yes.
home page, we used to say try to build it into every single page, and I think that's gotten too cumbersome. People often will have it. I think promise statements have gotten longer and longer, kind of like subtitles of books have gotten longer and that's okay. Like there are some websites that I absolutely adore where they say we do this and this and this, creating this and this and this outcome, and that's totally cool. Um, so just on the homepage, make sure that there's a promise.
So on the homepage, definitely you want that to be there because on the home, your homepage is your most important page. You have that page in order to create intrigue so that people stay and they go start visiting your other pages. If they don't make it past the homepage, then
Mm.
your bounce rate starts going up, which means they're really not finding something that's interesting to them. So again, you're using that homepage. It's almost like your ads, right? One after another. So the first thing is you want to capture the fact that you tell them what it is that you do. So they're like, yep, I'm looking for someone like you who does what you do. And I kind of like your outcome, but I still don't know you. Then they scroll down. And after that, the hero image part. Oh, and let's talk about that a little bit more actually.
Okay,
So
okay.
the first image that I see of you, it's got to be so you. So my recommendation is please go get new headshots done. Please go get like a cool video done. Videos are huge right now, and especially above the fold. If you can do a cool a 15-second, 10-second video of just showing the energy that you bring,
You have an
it
example
really connects.
of a website that you would go to? If you don't, I have somebody. Kendra Hall does a great job with moving.
Kinder Halls is really nice. Yes.
Do you have one that you would like
Well,
to?
we actually just finished doing Michael Kerr's website, and his, we did it a little differently because we did like different patches of him doing different things just because he's so different. Like he brings on like kind of like a wacky energy and then a serious energy and then just a fun loving energy. So we wanted to capture all that. So there are just so many different ways that that can be done.
I
So
love.
if people can just concentrate more on this top of the fold hero image area.
Yeah.
Um,
This is
that's super, super crucial.
this is your prime real estate.
Yes.
What's going on when they arrive on the scene? You've got 3 to 7 minute seconds, not
Seconds.
minute,
Yeah.
seconds to
Seconds. Very expensive because if in those 3 to 7 seconds they don't connect, they're done. And here you are. You spent all this time, energy, and money on this website, and it just didn't capture their attention.
yeah.
So really, really important.
We'll put all of the websites that we reference on the show notes page, but Michael Kerr, Kerr, is one that you can check out. Kindra Hall, KINDRAHALL. She's got some movement on hers, and it's really representative of kind of the kinds of gigs. Oh, let's talk about hero images in terms of if you want to get, if you want to book big main stage work with thousands of people in the audience, don't show me a training room of you speaking to 40 people on that in that hero image. That's probably a miss. Would you, I don't know, would you agree with that?
I totally agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
People have to see it to believe it. So you either fake it through Photoshop
Yeah.
because hey, frankly, and that's not a bad thing to do sometimes because
Well,
through COVID, so many of us didn't. So hold
yeah,
on, I'm saying like fake it because you just didn't get a chance to do it in
yeah.
person for so long. Not to say you've never done it and you put yourself in the middle of 40,000
Let's
people.
not Photoshop you into the, Maple Leaf Gardens with
Yeah.
you standing there surrounded by 17,000 people if you've never done that.
Yes, no, definitely. I believe 100% in being authentic and saying and speaking your truth and showing your truth. COVID created a challenge with new
Yes.
headshots and new photos and being able to show that you do speak in front of large audiences, even if those audiences were online. So there's methods of showing those pictures, not necessarily taken in a big stadium that still shows that you speak to big audiences so that you do get booked for those gigs.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So, some food for thoughts in terms of photos. Definitely want to have the promise up front and center. What about having some sort of lead magnet front and center? Is that
Yeah,
important
so there's
above the fold?
there's two schools of thought in regards to lead magnets. One is either you have it slightly above the fold, so it's not just the hero image that encompasses the whole thing, so that people see there's more information down below. So
Mhm.
one is like the opt-in is right below the fold or slightly above, so that and that's like a prime. So research has shown that that is the best place to have it because people opt in more when it's in that placement. The
Okay.
second school of thought is that people don't know you yet all that well. So why are they going to opt in? It's too soon. Psychologically, they need to get to know you better. So it's
Hmm.
usually better kind of lower down on the page, just above the footer. So you've got your footer that appears on every single page, but just above that, that could be another great place to have it.
Okay, fair enough. Speaking of mindset, I think when we go about building our new website, we have to come at it from a place of brave because
Mm.
if you try to serve too many markets and too many masters based on fear that, but what if they're looking for this and I don't say it on my page? I can do that. But really, like, how hard is it to get people to come down to that one thing space where they're a little bit nervous about what if somebody's looking for something else?
Yeah, that happens quite often, and it is very difficult to have entrepreneurs let go of certain things because they think they're leaving money on the table. Um, I'm trying to think about moments where they felt confident that by letting them go, they're actually going to become more successful.
Yeah. And it's
And
hard to tell people that. Then when people find you with this one promise, it's like, "Oh, that's my person," because that's all they do. When you
yeah,
wrap up what you do into a bunch of stuff, it waters it down. And I think,
Definitely. Yeah. And then one of the biggest questions I ask is how has it served you so far to say that you do 20 things?
yes. And so let's go over to the program descriptions page here for a second. We would call it the workshops or the keynotes page. And when you have 10 talks listed, I can often say to people, well, how many times have you booked that in the last 12 months? Oh, I haven't. Get it
Yeah.
off of there.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
many times have you booked that one? Get it off of there. Pick your top three. I would say three is a max. Do you have a preference for how many speeches somebody might list?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And I go with the top three because people just can't usually remember more than three. And if you've got your top three, you can kind of weave it and make it theirs when you know what their special event is all about and what their theme of that event is. But there's if you're speaking, and I've had speakers that have six up there or seven up there, and they still say, I still do get hired once in a while for that. So I'd still like it to be present than non-present. I'd say that has become less and less throughout the time. And I think COVID has helped us hone in on and start simplifying and bringing in more of a focus.
Oh, and those are my favorite words. Simplifying and more of a focus is my favorite thing. I'm going through a massive simplification in my own business right now. And so you just made my heart sing just by using those exact terms.
Yeah,
All
and you know what, Jane? I'll just say a little bit more on that to say that it's actually not scary, but it's empowering to list out all the things that you talk about, and then you find the thread that connects a lot of them together. You'd be
yes.
surprised to see that a lot of things are actually the same, except throughout the years they've just become more and more and more because you put this spin on this one and that spin on that one. But at the core of the message, you're really delivering just this one message right here.
That's so good.
So,
And we kind of have a visual of an umbrella, and we want to have kind of one word at the top of the umbrella. Maybe it's team building or something like that. And all of the threads need to come back to that one word so that you're not confusing your buyers. The
oh
old
yeah, lovely. I love that.
the old saying from Bob Bly, who was a copywriting expert, is a confused buyer doesn't buy.
Yes.
And this is what we definitely don't want people to leave confused. Well, you have given us so much. If people want to get in touch with you, how might they do it? Don't you have something exciting to offer us?
Yeah, I do actually. For those who made it this far,
Yeah.
something is probably resonating with you. So I have a gift for you. And my gift is a 30-minute discovery session. And we can do whatever you want. I love doing this with speakers because I just find that if this topic is of interest to them, then let's like get to work and let's get you something that's going to be helpful. So we can do one of the two things. One is just get on a call with me and we'll figure out what your one idea is.
Oh,
And usually I find that it's better if somebody else does it with you because you're so close to your own expertise that it's hard to know. So then
yeah.
I'll just keep asking you the hard questions, they get to this and then what does that represent for them? So anyhow, it doesn't take longer than 30 minutes to really nail your one idea. Or we can just go visit your website and just show me what you got and I can give you tips as to what are some things that you can do to change it. So I'll give you my Calendly link. We can just have it be on your page.
Right in the show notes. And thank you so much. That is so generous. And I think people would be crazy not to take you up on that. That's a really beautiful offer. So
My
thank you so
pleasure.
much for doing that.
Yeah.
So I want to say this has been such a pleasure. And I can't wait to kind of see you in person sometime. I'm afraid I won't be coming to the CAPS convention this
Oh
year.
no.
I will see you sometime in the future. I am certain of it.
I hope so. Yes.
And for those of you who are tuning in, let's make sure we give your URL as well. What is your website address?
Sure. It's gogotelugo.com. And actually the Calendly will be gogotelugo.com/discovery. And we'll have the link there for you, but that's what it is. Or
Beautiful.
just put Azadeh branding on Google and you'll find me. There's not a lot of Azadehs doing branding.
There you go. And it's Azadeh is
That's
the way that
right.
you spell Her name, thank you so much for your time today. I really think that you've probably got a lot of people thinking about their brand and their website. Beautiful job. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
And if you're tuning in, thank you for being here. And with that, we'll say, see you soon, Wealthy Speakers. Bye for now, everyone.
Bye.